everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be talking about all of my most anticipated reads for 2025. I currently have 21 books that I'm anticipating for 2025. I feel like there would have been more on this list if I had read certain books in 2024 that have sequels coming out in 2025, and hopefully I will get to those books in 2025, so I probably will read the sequel or be anticipating the sequel later in the year. But obviously I can't include those because I haven't read the first book. But regardless, I still have 21 books on my list. 2 of them don't have release dates, so I will go through those last. But I am going to do them in order of release date, and if you want to know more information about all of these books, I do have a Goodreads list dedicated to my most anticipated reads of the year. Like I said, I'm going to be going in order of release date, and I'll probably just put the release date on the screen. Some of these I don't know too much information about, and I kind of don't want to know a lot. I like to go into a lot of books knowing very little, but I will try to give you guys kind of the basics about each book. So starting off in January, we have Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This is the 3rd book in the When in Rome series. This follows 2 feuding 2nd grade teachers and neighbors who find themselves teaming up in this rivals to lovers romance. Then we have Immortal by Sue Lynn Tan. I have not read Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which is the author's most popular series, I do believe. This is a standalone in the same world, and I kind of don't want to commit to a lot of series, especially fantasy series, and this is supposed to be a standalone. So I think I'm going to try to dive into this one, and hopefully I will like it. The kind of quote in the summary is really what drew me. "What the gods did not give us, I would take." It's a stunning, standalone, romantic fantasy filled with dangerous secrets, forbidden magic, and passion of a young ruler who fights to protect her kingdom. Then we have Sin and Redemption by Cora Riley. This is a mafia romance. I believe it is a standalone. On Love Rose Lane by Samantha Young. This is the first book in a kind of spin-off to her Dublin series. This is kind of a continuation slash spin-off, I guess. This follows Beth Carmichael, who is the daughter of Jocelyn and Braden from the first book on Dublin Street. I'm very excited to read this. However, I'm always very weary of 2nd generation series because often authors kind of ruin the original couples to add conflict to the current couple and characters. So I'm excited, but I'm kind of nervous still. So next we have Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Stone. Grieving the loss of her best friend, a young woman's life is turned upside down when she meets a grumpy stranger who swears he can help her live again. I really, really loved Ready or Not. It is one of my favorite books of 2024, so I'm very excited to read Cara Stone's newest book. So You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I have not read Just for the Summer yet. I'm hoping to read it soon, probably before this comes out. I know that this one is probably going to be emotional and heartfelt, and I might cry, so I'm excited to read it. This next one doesn't have a cover yet. I believe it will be revealed very soon, but that is Willow Vale by Rosemarie. And this is a second chance romance, single guardian set in a ranch town. Travis never got over Lila, and 4 years later, she comes back into his life. I believe this was actually supposed to come out in 2024, but the author held off on releasing it because I think they wanted to try to sell it to a publisher first, but I think they're kind of ready to just release it now. So it'll be finally out in April. I've been waiting for this book, I think since like 2023. I don't know, I've been waiting for a while, so I'm excited that I'm finally going to be able to read it. Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the 4th and final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. This is obviously a small town romance. It follows Camille and Dusty, who kind of have this very like mysterious relationship. In the summary, it says past lovers get a second chance to rediscover what they lost. I'm very, very excited for this book. I cannot wait to see Dusty and Cam fall in love. Enigma by Rue Nix. This, I believe, is another gothic academia romance. Salem goes to this university to find answers about her sister's mysterious death. Her search leads her down a dark and dangerous path to secret society and to Kaz. I personally loved Gothic Anna. It was one of my favorite books of 2023. I think I own 4 different editions of it. I really loved it. So I'm excited to read another dark Gothic academia book from Runix. Then we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is another Gothic romantasy about a mist-cloaked tale of a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. Realm of Thieves by Karina Halley. This originally was not on my radar, but I reread the summary and I was like, okay, maybe I am interested in this. It's been a very long time since I've read something by Karina Halley. I was really turned off by one of her vampire books. Oh, Black Sunshine. I did not enjoy that book, and so it kind of made me weary to read some of her newer stuff, but this sounds interesting and fun. 2 thieves vie for dominance in the illegal dragon egg trade, putting both their lives and their hearts on the line. This one also wasn't on my radar until I again read the summary and I was immediately sold. And that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, and one grows deep, and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. Of course, I am very, very excited to read Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This follows a hit-making sound writer and a bitter musician who share a startling and inexplicable connection that they'll do anything to shake. The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip are 2 of my favorite books ever. I still enjoyed A Novel Love Story, but I didn't love it as much as her other 2 books, but I'm still really anticipating this new one. I do think I'm really gonna love it. Then we have Overruled by Lana Ferguson. 2 divorce lawyers determined to share only beds, but not hearts, discover that love is something that can't be overruled. Then we have The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. I believe the author is well known for writing Dramini fanfiction, and I believe this is slightly a reworking of her own Dramini fanfic. I think, unless it's like original work but inspired by Dramini. But the author did write Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. So I think this published book is like a revised version of that fanfiction. I have not read that fanfiction. I have wanted to dabble into Dramini fanfiction, but I haven't yet. But I figured, why not read a published version by a well-known Dramini fanfic author? So I'm excited to read this. It also does sound really interesting. Slow burn, enemies to lovers romantasy duology featuring a scholarly healer and a gentleman assassin. Also, the cover is kind of giving Dramini, so I'm excited to read this. I guess another really well-known Dramini fanfic is being traditionally published, and that is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. Apparently, Julie Soto wrote The Auction. Again, the cover is also kind of giving Dramini. Captured as her castle is overrun by the enemy, stripped of her mind magic and her freedom. Brienne? Is that the character's name? Brienne? And other survivors are quickly auctioned off to the highest bidder in an auction. She's sold to none other than Tovin. I'm excited to read a lot of these traditionally published versions of Dramini fanfics. A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mendana. This is another like cozy, witchy romance. An enchanting novel about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track. Then we have Blood Moon by Brittany S. Lewis. I believe this is young adult. 18-year-old Mirabella grew up in Timber Plains, Kansas, hearing all about the local legend that werewolves had many years ago traveled to their small Midwest town to protect humans from the growing threat of a vampire enclave. Years later, she's a freshman at college and she ends up falling in love with Julian, who is very mysterious and is probably a werewolf. I love a little YA fantasy paranormal romance. Also, the other blurb makes it sound really interesting. Blood Moon is a dark and thrilling, intensely romantic ride, a fresh take on a werewolf love story for a new generation of paranormal romance readers. It is set against a high-stakes paranormal backdrop, a world ripe with secret identities, rich supernatural lore, and a forbidden romance. Then, of course, we have probably my most anticipated release of the year is the second book in the Immortal Dark trilogy. There is no title for the second book yet. I don't even know if it's officially coming out in 2025. It does say, oh, Goodreads now says October. And it was originally, I think, September. So hopefully it'll come out sometime in the fall. But this is the second book in the series. I loved the first book. This is kind of like a vampire, secret society, horror, gothic academia book. I loved the first book, so I'm very, very excited for the second one. Okay, the last two currently don't have release dates. I'm assuming they will come out in 2025, but maybe not until later in the year. The first one is Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu. This is another Dramione fanfic that is being traditionally published. The original fanfic is called Manacled, which I have not read. I think I'm just gonna go straight into Alchemized. A, because I want to give the money to the author, and B, because I don't know, I don't want to read the fanfic first and then be like possibly disappointed by the new version of it, I guess. So I'm just gonna go straight into the published edition, and then maybe I will read the fanfic. I do have the fanfic downloaded because I wanted to download it before it disappeared. Alchemized is a standalone dark fantasy set in a war-torn world of necromancy and alchemy, with an enemies to lovers romance that is by turn tender, toxic, and all-consuming. And then the last book is not even on Goodreads yet. I tried to find if it was, but it's not. And that is Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It by Brooke Averick. I don't know if this is officially coming out in 2025, but it was recently announced that Brooke's book will be traditionally published, which is very exciting. If you don't know, Brooke is a influencer podcaster. Her podcast is Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast. She also had Obsessed, which I think she's stopping. I haven't watched any of the latest episodes, but Brooke has kind of talked about her journey on writing a little bit, and she is a romance lover. She's a romantasy lover as well, so I am very excited to read her book. I'm not really one to read influencer or like YouTuber books or any of that kind of stuff. I don't really read a lot of that, but I'm interested in Brooke's book. I do think it will be good. I believe it follows Phoebe, who is a 30-year-old virgin, and she is dealing with fear of intimacy, and I think she is set to lose her virginity before she turns 30. And I think she has like a month before she turns 30, so she has a little bit of a deadline. I don't know, it sounds fun, it sounds rom-com-y, so I'm excited to read Brooke's book. So those were all 21 books that I'm anticipating for 2025. Let me know what books you're excited about. Let me know if I mentioned any of the ones that you're also excited about. Again, I'm sure there's going to be more releases later on in the year that I will be really excited about, or sequels of books that I have yet to read. But honestly, I'm very, very excited about 2025 reading wise. I feel it's going to be a really good year for me. I'm going to really try to prioritize reading and reading a lot of different stuff. So I'm very excited for my reading year in 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.